Hey everybody, it's author Sam Baltrusis, and I'm reporting from Concord's Colonial Inn. How's everybody doing? We have a big group in the other room. I'm actually reporting from the Thoreau room. To give you guys some idea as far as the history, I spent 6 months working the overnight shift at Concord's Colonial Inn. So many ghosts, so much history, dates back to 1716. The section that I'm in right now is the Thoreau room. And so it's named after the Thoreau family. You may know the name from Henry David Thoreau. So I am going to actually bring on our sponsors. We have Christy and we have David from Haunted Lives. Sorry. Or Haunted Lives.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hey, how you doing, Sam?
Hey, guys. And so we have the lovely Patty Negri sitting next to them. So the group is star-studded. So Christy and David, so I'm going to let you guys take over and maybe talk to the audience. I'm going to get Andrea beamed up so we can have her connected. Okay, guys?
That'd be great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Sam.
Thank you.
So, hi everybody who's tuning in. We really appreciate you being here. My name is David Taylor,
and I am Christy Grissom Vampira.
Welcome to our Haunted Lives. We are extremely happy, extremely nervous. This is our first live event. We are at Mass ParaCon. We have a great audience with us tonight, and we just cannot wait to get Andrea on here and really get into.
We are so used to like being recorded and going back and fixing our mistakes. But this is not an incident where we can do that, because if we make a mistake,
it's live.
It's live.
It's live.
What do we do about that?
And you're telling secrets to the people who
I'm
should know secrets.
Well, I'm telling secrets, and I got my cheat notes right here.
I got them too.
Because you told me to be myself, David. You told me to be myself, so
yourself,
I got my cheat notes.
Everything will be fine.
So, Christy and David, guess what? Guess who just chimed into the green room? The lovely Andrea PERRON. We're going to bring her up, guys.
Andrea,
how are
you? Goodness.
Hi.
Oh,
I see some people I recognize, including Patty Negri, who is just, oh my God. We got to spend time together out in Vulture City, and it was so wonderful. It was so wonderful, sweetheart. I love you dearly. And it's so nice to see all of you. Where'd Sam go?
Sam is
he
in
went
the
away.
Theo room.
He's in another room.
Oh, there he
is. Here I am, honey.
Oh, there you are. Are you going to stay
you.
on? I love you too, sweetheart. You know I do. Oh,
well,
God. Wasn't Vulture City wonderful?
It was really beautiful. So Andrea and I actually were in a car together, and we would drive back and forth from our hotel to Vulture City. And I'll tell you that beautiful view along the way with Andrea was so special, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It was just a wonderful experience. Of course, I was waiting for alien spacecraft to kind of come from above.
No, it is Arizona. It is.
They
Arizona.
did, Sam. You just don't remember it.
They did. Yeah, they did. But so Andrea, I'm going to let our sponsors. I'm a Stuart Laffer.
I love it.
But the lovely Christy and David, they're going to take over. But Andrea, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, truly.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, Andrea, I'm going to admit that my toes are kind of curling right now.
She's very nervous.
I am really nervous about talking to you, and David. He's an amazing host. He's an amazing partner, and he said, "Christy, just be yourself." Just be yourself.
Just like I am.
Right.
Just look to your immediate right and ask that beauty sitting next to you.
She is an amazing friend of mine.
Okay,
that's why she's here with me, because I was so nervous. And Patty's like, Christy, you can do this. You can do this. But my toes are still curling. So I just wanted to let you know.
We are extremely honored to have the opportunity to talk to you, and I know you have a limited amount of time, and thank you for doing that. But we're going to ask you a few questions, and if you wouldn't mind, towards the end of taking some questions from the audience, would that be okay?
I am absolutely all aboard with that, and the timing of this is actually perfect, because if we run a little over, it's not a problem for me.
Okay.
Because I have my show on Friday nights is from 9 to 11. So, and this is 7 to 8. So we've got a little window
got a little
of
lead.
opportunity
Okay.
there.
Good. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
we're good. Yeah. So don't you worry about a thing. And it's wonderful to be with all of you. And there's nothing
Thank
scary
you.
about
Andrew has
me.
a
And
shameless plug for Coca-Cola right now.
there you go. Oh, it's the other nectar of the gods. There's coffee and there's
That is the drink of the gods.
It really
and
is.
the goddesses.
I agree with you.
Love it.
I
That's
agree
right.
with you. Absolutely. So, Andrea, I really wanted to kind of start out with a little bit of background. The question I have is, how did what happened at the farmhouse really shape your life?
In every conceivable way.
Right.
I was 11 years old when my mom found the house. I turned 12 in October of that year, 1970. Moved in the first week of January 1971, even though my parents had already closed on the house and, technically owned it at the beginning of December in 1970. Mr. Kenyon was not ready to move out, nor were we ready to move in. So it was just a matter of waiting it out. Mom said, just girls, keep the boxes of, anything that you might get for Christmas, make it easier to move. And we did. But we were very excited. We were really thrilled that we were moving into this old house that we had no idea was haunted. No ghosts on the radar. The only time we ever even heard that word was in church, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, or when Mom had one sheet that had been so ratted out over the course of the year that she had to pick a kid who was going to be the ghost for Halloween so she could cut the right eye holes in it. That was it. My only other experience with paranormal anything was rushing home from school every afternoon to watch Dark Shadows because I had
what a great show.
Yes.
What a great show.
Yes.
I had a really bad crush on Quentin. I did. I'll admit it. He was, he was a rock star to me. And I actually watched the show that was live when Barnabas's teeth fell out, which took away all the, all the glamour. It was gone. I still don't believe in vampires, but I sure do believe in ghosts now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. I had the opportunity to spend the night at the Conjuring House.
And you
about a year
didn't
ago.
freeze to death?
No,
Amazing.
no. I had other things happen, but I didn't freeze to death.
Oh, okay.
But prior to going there, we had stopped by a local tavern to get something to eat and a little something to drink to take the edge off. And I actually ran into a woman that went to school with your sister Cindy.
Really?
Yes. And
that's not hard to do in Burrillville. There were 5 of us. We went to school with everyone.
Right. Well, I think she did mention there was more than, that she knew more than one. But she had talked about that there were many times that y'all didn't show up for school. And a lot of the kids questioned what was going on. And to me, I want to know, as a child, going through that and missing school and having other children recognizing that, how did you go through that? And did you make friends? Did you stay away from people because of what was going on?
Well, we had all been raised to be very honest people. And, either we missed school or we were so sick because of either exhaustion or exposure or, I missed so much school the second half of the year. Of course, it was halfway through the school year in the 8th grade. I went from being a straight A to a straight C student.
Right.
I did not do well making the transition from Cumberland Middle School to Burrillville Middle School. I, by the skin of my teeth, because of my great grades in Cumberland, that's how I got into the 9th grade. But I was one day of absenteeism away from being held back. And I have an IQ of 146, and I was a straight A student, and my whole world caved in. Either we couldn't make it to school, or we went to school absolutely exhausted. And, you know, we really could not share a lot, you know, but over time we made friends, and, you know, people knew by reputation that the house was active. Nobody wanted to tell us or talk to us about it, but over time the kids started asking questions that we would answer. And I was in the, I think I was in the 10th grade when I heard my name ringing through the halls of Burrillville High School to come to the principal's office. I had never been to the principal's office for anything. There was no reason for me to go to the principal's office. I never broke any rules. I was a goody two-shoes student. And so I was mortified. I mean, mortified. And I went down to Mr. Ficca's office. And, you know, keep in mind, this was the early 70s. Things are a lot different now. I was probably a foot taller than him. And that man pushed me up against a wall so hard that it knocked the breath out of me. And he said to me, if I get one more phone call from a parent telling me about the lies you're telling their kids, then you will be expelled and you will not go to college. I'll make sure of it. And that was it.
What did you do with that, though? You stopped talking completely. You didn't.
Yeah. I had nothing more to say on the subject, and I didn't dare go home and tell my father. And if anybody knows my father, I think I probably saved the principal's life by not telling my father what he did to me.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was mortified. I was terrified. I wrote about it in my books, House of Darkness, House of Light. I didn't really hold back in the books. The only thing that I can say is that, you know, I think that people are deserving of the whole truth. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. People are deserving of the whole truth. And the truth is that living in that house fundamentally altered each and every single one of the members of my family. I was going to, what I wanted to do was to become a veterinarian. And I ended up studying to be a philosophy professor. I wanted to, you can't get a degree in philosophy without studying all the world's religions. And also I double majored in English. I kept myself so bogged down in work during the last 4 years that I was in college while we lived at the farm, that I didn't have time to do anything else except try to project myself into the future and what will my future look like. And it was just about a month or so before my graduation that my parents called me and told me that they had sold the farm. And I went into complete, utter emotional meltdown, hyperventilating, sobbing uncontrollable, angry beyond measure that kind of a decision was made without any input from me, not any.
Wow.
Like I was out of sight, out of mind, and my father could not calm me down. He finally just handed the phone to my mother and just said, here, honey, just talk to your mother. Talk to your mother.
So,
And
so
she
why
was,
would you? I mean, with everything that was going on, and with them selling the farm, I mean, I guess people would ask, why would you be so upset with leaving something that had been so, what we understand as being traumatic? Um, can you explain that?
well, it was detrimental in some respects to my family, and my mother is the one that calmed me down, and she said, honey, I won't survive another winter in this house. We had no choice. And as devastated as I was, I would, of course, support my mother in that decision, knowing that it was her decision, and that my father felt like she was basically threatening him with divorce. Like, I have to leave. I'll take the kids, but I can't stay here anymore. And so they chose a beautiful farm in the Salacoa Valley of Cherokee County in northwest of Atlanta, Georgia. And 2 weeks after I graduated from college, we moved down. But I'll tell you the most significant part of that. Well, first of all, let me go back. Half of us never wanted to leave the farm. Half of us never wanted to see it again.
Wow.
And it had
I
a
wonder
very
what the
dramatic impact on all of us, but it had a different impact on all of us. I never was attacked or threatened in that house. I had an understanding with the spirits, and they with me, that to this day feels very profound to me. My sister Cindy will never go back to the farm. She's only been back twice since we left. The second time she went was at my behest to film Kindred Spirits with Amy Bruni and Adam Berry.
Right.
Okay.
And she had an experience there that was so bad that it took her 2 weeks to recover from it when we left. And we were only there for one afternoon and one evening. And my mother has never gone back. She said she never would go back. And she's been true to her word. She just turned 83 in August, and she will never step foot back on that property again. My father and I go back frequently. I was just there all over Halloween weekend.
Right.
Loved every minute of it. Loved the spirits, communicate with the spirits. And I'll tell you, I don't know if any of you know about Cody Despian and Satori Hawes, but they have a truly magical gift of connection, a direct connection with the spirits. And the last time that I was there with them, the spirits all came, like crowding through at once. And Satori, who was so kind and gentle, she's like, okay. All right. You all have a message for, and they spelled out my name. And then she said, how many words? 4 words. And they spelled out, we miss your family.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to a question of you were talking about how things affected your mother. I was doing some research on you, and I found a little clip that when your mother found the house, you were the only people to respond to the ad in the paper.
Yeah.
Now,
on the first day that it dropped in the Woonsocket Call.
So my question is, and it's a very simple question: did the house choose you, or did you choose the house?
I think
because you're split on this.
We chose the house because the house chose us. I really do believe that we were, for some reason that I'll never be able to explain. The universe has a mind of its own, and I really do believe that it was our destiny to live there, and it was my destiny some 40 years later to share our story with the world.
Right.
I was the writer in the family.
Right.
It took me more than 30 years to pick up a pen and start telling our story.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to use a computer. I was using a conventional
I
typewriter.
still don't. Okay.
I don't
still
either. I don't either.
So, and just to follow up, and I don't want to call it an obsession, but what was it that drew your mother to this house, that your parents had to move mountains to purchase the place? I mean, was she just driven, like it was so mesmerizing to you and so beautiful, or
It was an inner knowing, an inner feeling, an
Yeah.
inner.
because it's the story that you tell about, and you can tell it, of just how you moved everything to get this house, and then all of a sudden, oh no, it's knocking on the walls. It's just
And
different
everything else,
things.
yes.
Yeah, it was from the moment my mother laid eyes on it, she knew. And she emptied our family bank account to put earnest money down on it to hold it so that no one would buy it out from underneath us.
Wow.
And as it turns out, that phone call that my mother made the first night that it dropped as an advertisement in the Woonsocket Call was the one and only call that they got on that property listing.
Wow.
And interesting, yeah, she bought it without my father's knowledge or consent, or at least secured it. Turns out Norma Sutcliffe did the same thing with her husband, saw it, put money down on it, and then told him after the fact. Jen Heinzen and Corey were just as compelled to get it. And Jacqueline Nunez, the current owner now, she saw it in a news feed on her smartphone on a Saturday morning as she was scrolling through the Google machine, which did not exist when we bought it. And she knew immediately when she laid eyes on it that it was her destiny. Sure. It has a way of reaching through the cosmos and grabbing you by the throat and saying, your turn, you're next.
Picking the people. Picking the people to own the property.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So let's get into a little bit about the movie. I know you don't like to talk about it and things like that, but we like to get really what the really story is. And you've been quoted that it's been 90% Hollyweird, maybe 10% real. So what has the movie done to the true story of the farmhouse?
It has given it exposure that it would never have gotten otherwise. And had The Conjuring not been a blockbuster feature film that was disseminated around the world and dubbed in multiple languages, I would not be one of the best-selling authors in the genre 11, 12 years after I published the first book. I credit The Conjuring with all of that. Had it not been for the extraordinary success of that film and the way that it was able to make the viewing audience care about our family. That's what drew people to want to know more. That's what drew people to want to know the real story. And believe me when I tell you, the truth is so much stranger than fiction. When James Wan read my books, the director and the executive producers and everybody associated with the film read my books and said, oh, hell no, we can't tell this story. We can't tell this story.
Well,
it'll run people right out of the theater. I don't think of it that way. I think of it as a love story with a wicked supernatural twist, but that it is predominantly a love story of how a family got through an inordinate trial for a decade of our life together. We never lived together under the same roof after we left the farm because Nancy refused to move. She stayed on as the caretaker of the house indefinitely when the rest of us moved to Georgia. And by the time she joined us, the whole family had dispersed. So that was our last family home. It's the only place that will ever feel like home to me.
Why
Wow.
did she stay on? What was her reasoning? Was she just drawn to the house?
Yes, and she was so angry, so angry. I mean, it took her decades to forgive my mother.
Oh wow.
Decades to forgive my mother. And I'm not actually, truth be told, I'm not sure she completely has. You know, all she ever wanted to do was live in that house with me and, you know, whoever wanted to stay. We just thought that that would be our family home for our whole lives. And she had a very similar relationship with the spirits than I did. You know, an understanding, as it were.
Right.
You know, so it was yeah, we all had a very different reaction to being there. And I was fascinated, mesmerized, curious beyond measure. And I had also learned quite early on that when hell was present in that house, it was the invocation of God in heaven that stopped it. And so and I mean, stopped it every time. And so it really reaffirmed my faith. My mother had a terrible reaction to the movie once she finally saw it, more than 2 years after it had been released, because she thought that, you know, there were some gross misconceptions of our family and misrepresentations, inaccurate portrayals. But the thing that upset her most was the intimation that we were somehow godless heathens, as juxtaposed to the devout Roman Catholic Warrens, and that's why we were being targeted. And nothing could have been further from the truth. My father was born and raised Roman Catholic, went to parochial school, served as an altar boy. When he graduated from high school, he joined the Navy, and his intention was, after his years of service, to come back and go directly to the seminary and become a priest. That was what my father thought was his destiny. And then he met my mother, and all bets were off while he was in the Navy. And then scooped her up in Georgia and brought her to Rhode Island. The poor thing, she was still in culture shock. And
Well, I know last year when I went and spent the night, when I first walked in, I I felt at home. I didn't feel anything negative. I didn't feel, I mean, I know the stories. I've read everything. I've seen the movies, of course.
well,
Um,
just the first movie has anything to do with us. All the rest of them, I don't know. I haven't ever seen any of them, but
right.
they're based
But,
on,
but
all of them are based on the case
but the
files of the
core of it,
Warrens.
I knew the core of it, and I went in and I'm not going to say that I didn't have anything happen, because one of the scariest things in my paranormal investigating life happened in your home. But it wasn't such a negative thing. It was just, somebody saying, "Hey, I'm here," and go away. But it wasn't really negative. It just, I felt at home and I wanted to stay there. And so I can kind of understand how you said that half of y'all wanted to stay and half of you wanted to go, because I wasn't intimidated by it. Although I did get, I'm going to admit it, I wanted to run, David.
That's okay.
I'm not I'm not a runner. He's the runner.
I'm the runner.
But I did want to run. Footsteps come, they come charging at me from one bedroom to another, and I couldn't see what it was coming at me, but you could hear the footsteps start charging. So it was a little intimidating, but at the most part, it was a beautiful home, absolutely beautiful.
Well,
It
it no
is.
longer looks like how it did when we lived there. We had, you know, lush, plush, beautiful carpets everywhere, and, you know, cozy, comfy, throw yourself down into the furniture and it'll absorb you, you know. It was it looked like a glorified college dorm, is that what it looked like? There were usually fleece blankets everywhere, and animals everywhere, cats and dogs and kids, and you know, it was we weren't the tidiest children. Our bedrooms all looked like, you know, a nor'easter had just swept through. But You know, hey, if we knew where our crap was, that was good enough as far as I was
Yes,
concerned.
absolutely,
Exactly.
You
absolutely.
know, and
So
you know, when you go through situations where you are so emotionally and psychologically and spiritually challenged and so exhausted by that process that, you know, the last thing in the world you're concerned about when you get up in the morning is making your bed. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
Exactly.
being able to drag yourself down to the one bathroom, break the ice off the top of the water in the toilet,
Oh wow.
get in the shower, get dressed, and get on the bus, and hopefully was able to complete your homework the night before. It was very challenging. It was for all of us.
If you can you bring us back to what happened at the seance? Chrissy and I kind of have a saying with people that we work with. If we run into things that we have no idea about, we will back off and we'll make a phone call to somebody to see if possibly they can help us out. We've called Patty.
Call Patty.
You know,
We call Patty.
we've suggested other people and things like that. And I know you don't like to talk about the Warrens, and I'm so sorry to ask this question, but it's a very pivotal question to what happened in this house and what happened to your mother, because your mother is so special and you're so special. What happened? I mean, you don't have to go into too much detail, but do you think that they were over their heads?
Yes, in fact, Mrs. Warren admitted that to me 40 years later when I saw her just before the opening of the film.
Wow.
The studio had invited us out for a private screening. And I saw her and spoke with her at length at the hotel. She remembered me immediately, and she apologized and said, we had no idea. Ed and I were in over our head as soon as we crossed the threshold. We didn't know what we were walking into.
Okay.
And, you know, the night of the seance was hands down, no competition, the worst night of my life. I think Cindy would say the same thing. I know my father would. 4 of the 5 of us were home. The Warrens showed up at the house with an entourage of people, a priest, a medium, cinematographers, audio specialist, a whole group of people. My father was just livid. He had just come home from like a 9 or 10 day trip. He was exhausted. And the last thing he wanted was upheaval in his home.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not saying that they showed up unannounced. There were no cell phones. They didn't exist, but they did call before they left Monroe, Connecticut. They just didn't say that they were going to bring a small army with them, nor did they declare their
Right.
intentions for that night. They asked to stop by. Well, when Dad came home, Mom had dinner all laid out and ready, and she told him during dinner that they were coming. And he said, call them and tell them to stay. I don't know. No. And she said, it's too late. They're on their way.
Wow.
No
And
cell phone.
when they showed up, it was
Just bedlam.
he was extremely uncooperative when they declared that they wanted to conduct a seance in the house to determine who the culprit was of the spirits and to vanquish her. He absolutely denied them entrance. The police, not the police, the priest. There were no police ever involved, even contrary to what was in the movie to make it look more legitimate. There were never any police involved. And that night, something that the medium invited in to the house attacked my mother. My mother was not possessed. My mother was attacked.
Okay.
And she was lifted in the chair in which she sat and levitated off the ground, probably 18 inches or more.
My God.
And then in a split second, literally, she was tossed from the middle of our dining room to the middle of our parlor. And when her head struck the floor, everyone present in that house thought they had just seen my mother die, myself included.
Did she
When
lose
my father,
consciousness?
I'm sorry.
Did she lose consciousness?
Oh God, yes. Yes, my mother was unconscious. My father went to run to her side. Ed Warren grabbed him by the arm to stop him. And my father turned around and punched him in the face and took him to the floor and told everybody to get out of the house.
The blankety
It's where I
blank.
learned all my swear words in one night.
There you go.
Yeah,
One
the
night.
blankety blank out of the house.
Yeah, yeah. They did not know if she was dead or alive when they went running out of that house that night. They came back about 6 weeks later to see if she had survived. It was horrific. And whatever it was that attacked her that night had all the power it could have ever required to claim her life. It didn't want to kill her, or it would have. It wanted to make its presence known to the Warrens, which it did. And I don't know if there's such a thing as a demon or not. I do know there is pure, unadulterated evil in the world because I witnessed it with my own eyes. And to have conducted that ceremony, that ancient, archaic ceremony in that house with 4 of the 5 children present was, in my opinion, the height of spiritual malpractice.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Thank you so
I've
much
got
for sharing
one
that.
last question. Okay, my last question, Andrea, is you've already kind of answered most of it. When stories begin, they start with the truth, and then they go to urban legend, folk tales, so forth, so on, until they become myths. You already kind of answered what it is right now, the Conjuring House as it's viewed today. Centuries in the future, what do you see the Conjuring House being?
I hope protected and preserved. I hope, in 2036, it will turn 300 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's that close to 300. And I hope to God that it is. I know in Jacqueline's care that it will be well loved, well protected, well preserved. And I hope that she spends many happy decades there. And I will do everything in my power, as I have with the Heinzens, to help her in any way that I can, to keep it paying for itself so that it can be treated with the reverence and the respect that it deserves. I think of it in terms of like part museum, part science lab, part church.
An enigma.
Yeah.
A lot of different things.
I've always described it as a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is a swirling, you've been there. It's a swirling vortex of extraordinary energy, and all of I mean, you wouldn't be doing what you do or be attracted to this field of study if you were not already aware that everything is a swirling mass of energy and consciousness. That's everything is one thing. I want it to be a place where people learn, where people can go. And, to me, it's not about being afraid. It's about being educated, being informed.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Almost like a paranormal research center.
Yeah.
Madame Curie, if I might paraphrase, said, we fear what we do not understand. Now is the time to learn more so that we may fear less.
Definitely.
And I think of Cody and Satori as an integral part of that process. I never thought that I would live to see the day that anyone could do what they do. And they stumbled upon it in the same way that I have stumbled upon some of my gifts.
Sure.
Right.
And so I'm so deeply grateful because, I had a terrible falling out with Norma Sutcliffe after the film opened. And, my family never changed our story over 50 years. But as soon as the movie came out, she did a complete 180, told the whole world, go away, no ghosts here. The Perron family made it all up. Are you fucking kidding me? Pardon me, excuse me. Are you fucking kidding me? You think I tethered myself to a computer for 7 years and then concocted this big, long, elaborate story that I made my family swear to memorize and then puppet out to the world? Right. That's less plausible than the existence of ghosts.
Right. Definitely.
I love the moxie. I love it.
Love it.
So that bitch doesn't come anywhere near me anymore.
Do we want to see if there's do we want to see if there's a couple of people in the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Some questions.
So what we'll do is Christiane will get up and the people that want to ask the questions will sit down where we're sitting. Andrea will give them the microphone so you can talk to them personally. And we really appreciate what you've done. Once we get done with the questions from the people, we'll come back in and we'll wrap everything up. And thank you so much for your time. So we'll hand it over to everybody else.
We'll find somebody that wants to ask you a question. I'm sure there's somebody in the audience. Oh, well, we've got somebody jumping up and down over here. So I think we will take her. What's your name?
Have her sit down.
Catherine. This is Catherine. Here you go.
Hi, Catherine.
I'm terrible with microphones. I apologize.
Okay. Just keep it up by your chin.
I feel like that's a bad idea. I'm kind of loud.
Okay.
My podcast partner can relate.
Oh, there you go.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, darling. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm recovering. Recuperating from my trip to the farm this past weekend was wild. Crazy Halloween. Crazy.
I'm actually, with my podcast partner, I'm spending the night at your house on Monday.
Great.
So I'm wondering if you have any advice.
Yes, I do. Go in with an open heart and an open mind.
Okay.
Embrace the experience. Be not afraid. There is darkness and there is light in the universe. One cannot exist without the other. Otherwise, both and either would be indistinguishable. So just go into that house peacefully. Never, ever, ever provoke. Not that you would. I can already tell from your aura that you would never behave that way. And just know that it was their house first, that we're the intruders, and that if we are kind and respectful and humble in their presence, that they will reveal themselves to us in remarkable ways.
So just another quick question. What is your definition of provoke?
I'm sorry, honey. Hold on. There's I've got a question that just came up on the screen. I'm thinking that Sam is about the films. Hold on. Let me just answer this real quick, and you hang on to your question, Catherine, about the films, because films have to be chronological. Will there be a scene in movie number 2 that would otherwise be a chapter in volume 1? As I'm working on screenplays, Jacob, yes, they will follow chronologically. So yes, all the major points will be hit upon. They can never be the books. That it's not possible for them to be the books. Ask Sam. He writes brilliant books that cannot be, converted into film with great ease. What you do. You just kind of pick and choose what will have the most impact. But yes, we will make a concerted effort to make films that are much closer to the actual events than The Conjuring. So there's my answer for that. Okay, Catherine, what Ask me your question again, honey, and
What?
speak up a little bit because I'm having trouble
Sorry.
hearing you.
Sorry. No worries. Can you define for me provoking when you say don't provoke? I'm trying to kind of get a handle on exactly what is provoking. I mean, if I play, a chant, would that be considered provoking? If I play music from the Revolutionary War, would that be considered provoking? I
No,
just want to make sure I'm not annoying any of these.
no, being rude and disrespectful
Okay.
and making demands of them. Would you walk into your neighbor's house and say, you know what? I don't really like how you've got this place decorated. And, I just really, I don't feel really comfortable in here. Make a sound, so I know you're here. Talking to them like that is anathema to them. Anathema. It is unkind. It is cruel. It is disrespectful. Very often people have gone in over the years and been very irreverent, made fun of them, and I just, all I hope is that there's a special hell for those people to burn in. I've made a lot of documentaries and I've done a lot of events there over the years. The only one that I regret doing was Ghost Adventures. Yes. And I forewarned their team before we went into that house. I said to them verbatim, woe be unto you if you provoke in this house. And they were perfectly kind and good and respectful while I was there. And then I left, and they stayed there for several more days. And when they left, they were so sick for a couple of weeks, they had to cancel. I was told they had to cancel their next couple of shoots because they were so sick that they couldn't function. Good. And there are cosmic forces swirling in this universe. And do not tempt fate. Do not ask for trouble. Just go in and be kind and respectful and keep your head bowed metaphorically because you are in the presence of something sacred.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your question. Is there anybody else? Come on, raise your hand. Come on.
Sam, I didn't know there was a child present. I probably wouldn't have dropped the F-bomb.
He wasn't paying attention.
Let me just say, not that I'm speaking up for Zach.
Well, now that I know there's a youngin' around, I'll try to behave. But you know me, I say what I think. I say what I think. Out it comes.
And I love you for it.
And all I want to say for Ghost Adventures, they've wised up a lot since then.
I hope so. I hope so.
Not perfect, who's perfect, but they've completely flipped on that. So
good. Well, maybe they learned a lesson at the farm. Maybe they did.
They probably did if they were sick for several days. I would say they learned something. So we have a lady here. Her name is Pam, and she has a question for you.
Hello. It's very nice to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you, Pam.
I just want to know, since you said your dad originally was going to go to the seminary and stuff.
Let me turn my volume up, honey. I'm just having a hell of a time hearing you.
Shove it in your mouth.
Okay, try again.
No, well, I'm live TV. You just told me.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. She's a bad influence.
I'm bad.
I know. That's good.
I don't need any help. I'm from Texas. But I wanted to know, so you said your dad wanted to be a priest originally before you met your mother. So has anybody ever come into your house that was known atheist or say that worshiped Satan or whatever the case is that wasn't really religious, and then did things happen to them more than somebody that would have been thank you, yeah, I didn't know how to say it, religious?
Not in my presence.
Okay.
Not in my presence. And there is one thing and one person that I could speak of about that. but I think that it is best that I don't, because I don't have a good thing to say about him. And so we're going to just leave that at that. And I do have an atheist friend who has been to the house. And, you know, something went flying across the room right in front of her. And she's like, wow, must be like a wicked draft in here. You know, I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? Really? Whatever. I'm not here to convince or coerce anybody of anything. People can believe whatever they want to believe. I don't care. I am here for the people who get it. I'm here for the people who get it. You know, that's it. And everybody else, they're on their own to, you know, figure out their own way to their own spiritual enlightenment. And I have always believed, and Sam, you and I have talked about this at length. I have always believed that when someone comes up, and I've never had it happen to me. Of course, I only hang out at ParaCon, so why would it? But you know, I never had anybody say, you know, well, I don't believe a word of this. You know, I don't believe in ghosts. Well, they believe in you. And, you know, here's the deal. I think that people that are in denial of the existence of spirit are scared to death that all of us are telling the truth, and that the truth will not set them free. The truth will fracture their own belief system.
Exactly.
And so they're like, can't do it. No. And that's fine. That's fine. You know, I mean, it takes, you know, a village to raise an idiot. You know, I mean, did I say that out loud?
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Well, Andrea, it has been an absolute
Thank you so much.
pleasure. And I'm going to say that I was so nervous before you came on. I'm going to say that again. I was so
We were so nervous. We were so nervous
to interview you, because, you know, normally when we interview, I'm in my skivvies and I got a cute little top on from above, but everything down below. But this is the first live like this, so I've been very nervous. And Sam, you are absolutely amazing, and thank you so much. So we're going to
love you guys.
So thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. Sam, if you want to take away, thank you so much.
I did this interview in my pajama bottoms and my unicorn slippers.
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Andrea just said she's doing this interview in her pajama bottoms. I love it.
Yes.
And my unicorn slippers. So yeah, I'm totally chill. I am totally chill. Sam will tell you I'm the most disarming person and one of the most vulgar on the entire planet.
I love it. So how can people contact you or reach you, Andrea?
Well, the best way, you know, my regular Facebook page has got like 30 or 35,000 people on it. There are thousands of messages that I have never been able to answer because I'm one person. However, if anybody, and my website is down, being dragged out of the 18th into the 21st century. We're rebuilding it like from scratch, making it wicked cool. Like everything in Rhode Island is wicked cool. And so the best place for people to reach out to me, where we can make direct contact, is on my fan page, which is called Buttercup Brigade. It is the place. It's a comfy place in cyberspace to land. It's very loving and supportive. Sam's got a wonderful fan page too, and it's wonderful. I don't get there much, but when I do, I'm like, wow, we must be related.
We probably are.
Yeah, you know, it's like the Buttercup Brigade. We're the rose-colored glasses wearers, because it's really the only way to look at the world.
Awesome.
It's filled with tree huggers and pet owners and you know, sky lovers and watchers and like all the weirdos. That's the best place to hang out. And I can easily be in touch with anybody that wants to be in contact with me right through there. Just remember Lynn Ann Bowling. She's my admin. and my other assistant, Erin Bush, too. You can get to me through them if you can't get to me directly. In about a week, it'll be easier to get to me because I will be done for the year. I'm going out next weekend to the Star Works symposiums to lecture about the Galactic Family. And then I'm done for the year. So
it's very similar to something like we're doing. So we appreciate it. If anybody that is watching live would like to catch Our Haunted Lives, you can go to our group page on Facebook, or you can go to ourhauntedlives.com. We are actually doing the same thing of overhauling our website also. So it's very similar. So we really appreciate the time and everything. And it was just such an honor to talk to you. And
Yes, it was.
thank you. And I'll do your show. I'll do your podcast anytime.
Okay,
Ask
awesome.
Sam.
Awesome.
You know, he calls me up. He's like, "You want to do a show?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's." You know.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I'm so chill. If I've got space on my little paper calendar for you,
Boom.
I'll put you in ink. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
All right.
Sam, back to you. Thank you.
So guys, so it's also streaming on massparacon.com. And so Andrea, it was so lovely to have you. Thank you so much. And next year, I would love for you to be at Mass Paracon in person because I love hugging you.
I know that's the only thing that's missing. My brother, my star brother. Yes, get in touch with me. And the earlier we book it, the better, so that I'm not in Scotland or someplace else. Okay.
Sounds great.
Let's do that.
And guys, so people that are in the room, we're going to actually move festivities over to the Thoreau room. So thank you so much and have a wonderful night. And if you want to come out to Mass Paracon, we still have tickets available. Go to massparacon.com.
Wonderful.
Thank you. I
love you all. Patty, call me. Call me. All right. Okay. Bye. Bye-bye.